2 months before our wedding, my fiancée left me because I wasn't financially viable, according to her dad. Fine. I let her go. Then I went broke. Slept in my car. Ate expired tuna. Fast forward 5 years. I invited her to my company's IPO launch party. She showed up. So did her new boyfriend, wearing a name tag that said Carter, catering staff. My speech? Oh, that was fun. I was 27, working in renewable energy consulting, which is just a fancy way of saying I got paid peanuts to write reports no one read. Sophie and I had been dating for 3 years and engaged for 6 months. She worked in interior design, loved brunch, and used the word vibe in serious conversations. I loved her, or at least I thought I did, until I found out she loved financial projections more. Our engagement party was a mess of mimosa breath and backhanded compliments. Her dad, Rick, introduced himself to my parents as if he were interviewing them for a mortgage loan. Yacht jacket, cashmere scarf in June, and that tight-lipped smile rich people wear when they smell something poor. The first thing he ever said to me was, "What's your exit strategy?" I laughed. He didn't. From that moment, I knew the countdown had started. It wasn't a question of if he'd find a reason to torpedo the wedding. Just when. I ignored the signs, obviously. Sophie started dropping subtle bombs like, "Have you ever considered business school?" And "My dad knows someone at Deloitte." Our wedding planning turned into budget planning, which turned into job coaching. I tried to keep up, but it felt like trying to wallpaper a crumbling house. Then came the talk. Not with me, of course, with her parents. A weekend at their lake house turned into a relationship audit. And when she got back, she didn't even cry. She just sat me down, took a deep breath, and said, "I think we want different things." "We? Or your dad?" I asked, dead inside already. She winced. "It's not about the money, Liam. It's just, you're not where you said you'd be by now." I remember blinking. We were going to live in a 1-bedroom and split a Costco membership. "What exactly did you think I promised?" She didn't answer. She just took off the ring and left it on my kitchen counter, right next to the half-eaten takeout she said she was craving 2 hours earlier. It was a Thursday. By Friday, she had unfollowed me on Instagram and posted a picture from a wine bar with the caption, "New Beginnings." By Saturday, my phone stopped ringing. Her friends stopped inviting me to things. My friends, or the ones I thought were mine, started liking her posts and sending me "Bro, you okay?" texts I didn't respond to. Sunday, I went to return a blazer I'd bought for our engagement photos. The cashier scanned it, looked up, and said, "Weren't you the guy who was going to marry Sophie Jenkins?" I didn't reply. I just left the store and realized I had officially become that guy. The one who got dumped by the pretty girl with rich parents. A week later, she posted a picture with a new guy, Carter. Square jaw, pink polo, Range Rover. He looked like someone who got kicked out of Harvard for insider trading on purpose just to get street cred. I Googled him. VP of Strategic Ventures at his uncle's hedge fund. Translation: paid 6 figures to repost Gary V quotes and not spill champagne on the family yacht. And me? I was still in my 1-bedroom apartment, trying to cancel a wedding venue and explaining to my landlord that no, the security deposit was not refundable if I ugly cried into the drywall. The real gut punch came 2 weeks later when my mom, who meant well, bless her, asked if I still wanted the monogram napkin she ordered. "I can return them," she said, holding the box like it was radioactive. "But they say S and L forever. Sophie and Liam. Forever." Right. I told her to toss them. I wanted to be angry. Really, I did. But instead, I just got quiet. It was like someone turned the volume down on my entire life. No music, no texts, no distractions. Just me, my stupid memories, and a mountain of overpriced kitchenware I couldn't look at without gagging. For a while, I pretended I was fine. I went to work, smiled at the right times, even downloaded a fitness app one never opened. But I could feel it, that rot in my chest. Not heartbreak. That would have been easier. No, this was shame. Shame that I wasn't good enough. Shame that she agreed. The wedding was supposed to be in 2 months. I had to call the caterer, the photographer, the florist. Every phone call was another slice to the gut. Most people said, "You'll bounce back." Rick didn't. He sent me an email, no greeting, no sign-off, just a forwarded news article titled, "Millennial Men Struggle with Delayed Financial Independence," and a highlighted sentence. "Most women eventually seek stability over romantic idealism." I didn't respond. I just stared at the screen until the letters blurred, then shut my laptop and poured myself a glass of something cheap and warm. That night, I dreamed I was drowning in a sea of floral arrangements and monogram napkins. And honestly, it felt accurate. People say rock bottom is when you lose everything. I'd argue that rock bottom is when you lose everything and still have to go to work the next day pretending you're a functioning adult while trying not to scream into your keyboard. The Monday after Sophie nuked my life, I walked into my office and was greeted with a pity stare from the receptionist. You know, the kind people give stray dogs outside supermarkets. My boss gave me a man-to-man talk about staying focused, followed by a passive-aggressive reminder that the company wasn't in the business of paying for therapy. I smiled, nodded, and updated spreadsheets like a corporate zombie until I got laid off 3 weeks later during a strategic reorganization. Which, in plain English, meant, we're cutting staff and your breakup makes everyone uncomfortable. So, I moved out of my apartment because I couldn't afford rent anymore. Tried crashing with friends, but got tired of the awkward silences and forced hangouts. Ended up sleeping in my car behind a gym, using their showers and pretending I was living minimalistically. That lasted 2 months. At one point, I flirted with joining an MLM. Some guy named Travis cornered me at a coffee shop and pitched me on selling wellness dust to executives. I almost bought in, not because I believed in it, but because rock bottom makes dumb ideas sound genius. I walked out the next morning after realizing they wanted me to pay them $200 to unlock my potential. Sophie, meanwhile, was thriving. Her socials were full of yacht pics and quotes about protecting your peace. She and Carter were now the couple in their circle. He bought her a diamond necklace that probably cost more than my student loans. The caption? Sometimes, Plan B is your true path. I was Plan A, in case that wasn't obvious. I tried to pretend I didn't care, that I was too evolved to spiral. But one night, while parked in a 24-hour McDonald's lot, I ate 4 apple pies in a row and sobbed so hard my steering wheel got slippery. I didn't want her back. I wanted her to feel what I was feeling, which was useless, invisible, and profoundly stupid for ever thinking love was stronger than a bank account. Eventually, I swallowed my pride and called my sister Denise. She was always the reliable one. 2 kids, a mortgage, an aggressively supportive husband who grilled vegetables like they owed him money. She let me crash in their garage, which she swore was fully converted, but honestly felt like a padded shoebox. Still, it was safe, quiet, smelled like old soccer gear and expired candles. But it was mine. The night I moved in, I sat on an old beanbag chair with a Sharpie and a napkin and started doodling. Not because I had a plan, more because I was tired of crying and needed to do something. I ended up sketching out this dumb concept I'd had in college. A compact solar unit that could generate clean energy for apartments or mobile homes. A battery inverter hybrid thing. I called it Sun Snag, which sounded dumb at 2 a.m. and genius at 2:01. The next morning, I woke up with the napkin stuck to my cheek and a weird flutter in my chest. Not hope exactly. More like caffeine plus desperation. So I walked to the local library, used their Wi-Fi, and started Googling solar patents, startup grants, basic circuitry, and how to wire a prototype without electrocuting yourself. It was pathetic. It was also the first time in months I felt like I wasn't drowning. The first prototype was made of scrap plastic, duct tape, and whatever junk Denise's husband had in the shed. It didn't work, obviously. But then I remembered a guy I used to work with, Jeremy. He was a burnout with a PhD in electrical engineering and a beard that made him look like he lived off-grid. I hadn't spoken to him in over a year, but I emailed him the concept and added, "Got nothing to lose. Want it?" His reply? "I'm in if we call it something that doesn't sound like a rash." We didn't have investors. We didn't have money. We had a garage, 2 laptops, and a combined $148 in checking. But we did have time. A lot of time. We worked at night. I picked up shifts at a tech store to buy ramen and batteries. Jeremy taught online classes during the day and reverse engineered the battery housing system in his spare time. It was messy, unprofessional, possibly illegal in 6 states. But every time we got one thing working, one wire, one function, one little piece of the puzzle, I felt like I could breathe again. And the best part? For the first time in years, I didn't think about Sophie. Until Denise walked into the garage one night holding her phone and said, "Sophie got engaged." I blinked. To Carter. Yeah, they're having a beach wedding. Destination. Very tasteful. I didn't say anything. I just went back to soldering a capacitor while pretending it didn't feel like someone was stapling my organs to the inside of my chest. Later that night, I dug out the old wedding invite design I still had saved on my hard drive. I opened it, looked at it for 5 seconds, then deleted the file. Permanently. That was the first real step forward. By year 2, the garage had turned into a disaster zone that smelled like hot plastic, burnt toast, and despair. And yet, it was probably the most productive space I'd ever worked in. We eventually renamed the project Soulrise. Not because it sounded cooler, it didn't, but because every investor we cold emailed thought Sunsnag was a tanning salon app. Jeremy built a basic website using the last $30 in his bank account. I put together a pitch deck using stolen stock photos, duct tape logic, and the raw power of spite. Denise would come in every couple of days with snacks or leftover lasagna and casually ask if I was eating real food or sleeping like a human. The answer to both was no. I was averaging 4 hours of sleep a night and living mostly on caffeine, rage, and those tiny peanut butter packets from the gas station. Jeremy and I both worked part-time jobs, me at a tech store, him doing freelance tutoring, and used every spare minute building the prototype. We scavenged parts from old printers, abandoned microwaves, and a suspicious number of garage sales. I once traded a perfectly good Bluetooth speaker for a broken inverter and considered it a solid win. No one believed in us, especially not the bank, or my old coworkers, or my ex, who I'm 99% sure blocked me on every platform after I posted a blurry photo of our first working unit with the caption, "We're alive." But it didn't matter, because it worked. Well, it kind of worked. The first successful prototype was ugly, glitchy, and made a weird buzzing noise that probably wasn't supposed to happen. But it generated power. Clean, renewable energy from a unit no bigger than a carry-on suitcase. I stared at it for 10 minutes straight after it powered a light bulb for the first time. Then I immediately burst into tears, laughed through them, and accidentally spilled coffee on the wiring, which shorted the whole thing and knocked the power out in the garage. Back to square one. Still, it felt like a win. So we started entering pitch contests. Local ones. Free ones. Anything that didn't require us to actually fly anywhere or pay an entry fee we couldn't afford. We were long shots, a garage duo with zero clout and PowerPoints made on decade-old laptops. Most of the time, we didn't even make it past the first round. Until we did. The breakthrough came at some local clean tech pitch night, run by a startup incubator with free pizza and a panel of judges who looked like they got dressed in the dark. Our pitch was a mess. Jeremy forgot his slides. I stuttered. The demo unit refused to boot up. But I think our raw desperation actually helped. We didn't fake polish. We didn't pretend to be the next Tesla. We just told the truth. Energy prices were insane, people needed affordable solutions, and we were two broke idiots who figured out how to make a battery box out of a toaster. Somehow, we won second place. The prize? $5,000 and 3 months of free access to a shared workspace with actual internet and real chairs. We used half the prize money to buy decent parts, and the other half to fix Jeremy's ancient car, which had developed a charming habit of dying every time it saw a red light. He named it the Grim Recharger. With the new funding, things got faster. We upgraded the prototype, made a clean UI app for mobile monitoring, and started pitching to actual angel investors. Most of them still said no. Some ghosted us. One guy offered us $50,000 in exchange for 60% of the company and naming rights, which Jeremy seriously considered until I reminded him the guy wanted to call it Buzzbox. There were nights I questioned everything. Nights I thought about going back to a day job. Nights I saw Sophie's wedding photos. Yes, I looked, shut up, and wondered if I was just chasing some revenge fantasy instead of moving on. But then the pilot unit worked. Perfectly. We powered an entire tiny home for 72 hours off one box. No noise. No overheating. Just clean, simple, consistent energy. That changed everything. We started getting emails. Journalists from obscure tech blogs wanted to chat. A YouTube channel did a mini feature on GarageBorn green tech. Our waitlist grew, not by millions, but by dozens, then hundreds. And for two guys who still hadn't broken even, that was gold. Jeremy and I started talking strategy, real strategy, patents, scaling, manufacturing. It felt surreal. We weren't successful yet, not by a long shot. But for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a loser playing house in someone else's garage. I felt like someone building a fucking empire from the ashes of a monogram napkin. And then came the real sign that we were on the right track. A LinkedIn request. From Rick, Sophie's dad. I didn't accept. I didn't even read the message he attached. But I screenshotted it and sent it to Jeremy with a single caption, "Yacht boy wants in." He replied, "Tell him our exit strategy is not selling to assholes." We were finally onto something. And this time, no one was taking it from us. The funny thing about being on the verge of something big is that no one gives a damn until they think you've already made it. Then suddenly, you're a visionary. A disruptor, a guy we always believed in. Even if their last text to you was 6 years ago and said, "She was way out of your league, man." After the tiny house demo went viral on a niche green energy subreddit, we got picked up by a slightly larger tech blog. Then another. Then a guy on TikTok reviewed our product and accidentally exploded our waitlist overnight. Jeremy called me at 2 a.m. just to scream, refresh the site, refresh the site. Orders were piling up. Not enough to retire, but enough to panic. Because we weren't ready. We still had one working prototype and a shipping department that consisted of me, Jeremy, and a folding table in Denise's laundry room. That's when the investors stopped laughing and started emailing. Not the fancy ones with yachts and synthetic smiles. No, these were weirdos. Angel investors who wore hoodies and wanted to do a call on Discord. One guy offered us seed funding from his garage in Wisconsin. Another wanted to invest, but only if we renamed the company Sun Daddy. We said no to him. Quickly. Eventually, we landed a government clean tech grant. Probably the most bureaucratic, soul-sucking process I've ever endured. It involved 3 separate video pitches, a dozen compliance forms, and a site inspection that nearly got us disqualified because Jeremy had accidentally left a bong on the workbench. The inspector didn't comment, but I saw the eyebrow twitch. Still, we got the grant. 50 grand. Real money. Enough to prototype, hire a freelance engineer, and move out of Denise's garage. We found a rundown workshop space in an old industrial park next to a mattress outlet and a feral cat colony. It smelled like sadness, but it was ours. We were officially a company. The moment we signed our first manufacturing contract, I got a Facebook message from Sophie. No hi. No long time no see. Just a link to a Forbes article titled Small Clean Energy Startups Poised to Explode in 2025. I didn't answer. Didn't even click the link. Just blocked her and stared at the screen for 5 minutes. My hands were shaking, but not from nerves, from restraint. 2 months later, Carter's crypto startup imploded. I found out through LinkedIn when he updated his job title to Seeking New Opportunities. Which is rich, considering the last time I saw him online, he was wearing aviators and giving a TEDx talk about decentralized trust economies. Whatever the hell that means. Meanwhile, Soulrise was everywhere. Not in a Kardashian sense. More like this weird little company might be onto something corners of the internet. We started doing podcasts, tech expos, pitch panels. I even did a local news interview where I smiled like a hostage and said, yes, we built it in a garage, while a reporter tried to get a decent angle that didn't show the wall mold. Jeremy shaved his beard for the first time in 7 years. I bought sneakers that didn't have holes. We still weren't rich, but we had something no one could fake. Traction. We got acquisition offers. Nothing life-changing, but enough to make me think. Then we got a serious one. A big offer. Mid-7 figures. Jeremy wanted to take it. I didn't. Not yet. This is what we built for, he said. You really want to keep grinding for equity we might never see? I said, I want to see Sophie at our IPO party, and no, I turned down millions just to look her in the eye. He stared at me for a second. That's the most honest villain origin story I've ever heard. I shrugged. I'm not trying to be the hero. So we kept building, leveled up production, improved the battery efficiency, polished the app, hired a head of marketing, Denise, actually. Turned out she had a secret talent for brand voice and could convince anyone of anything if she used the right fonts. By year 5, we had offices. Real ones. Not Google-style nap pod bullshit, but actual glass doors and a receptionist named Rachel who wore blazers and called everyone Han. We hired people. We got legal teams. I had a calendar filled with things like equity alignment call and Series B planning. Then came the IPO announcement. I can't even describe what it felt like. Not because it was too emotional, but because it was too absurd. I went from crying into instant noodles in a car to ringing the damn stock bell on national television. My inbox exploded. So did my DMs. Even Rick reached out again. Twice. First with a short, proud of your perseverance. Let's reconnect. Blocked. Then through a mutual acquaintance, asking if I'd be open to strategic partnership opportunities. I forwarded the email to Jeremy with one line. Only if we get to call it Buzzbox. We planned a launch party for the IPO night. Not in some stuffy ballroom, but a rented art gallery that had been converted into a sleek venue with exposed beams and catered espresso shots. It was ridiculous. It was everything. Invites went out to our team, investors, media, and a few select friends of the company. I didn't personally invite Sophie, but I knew she'd come. Because Carter? He'd taken up catering. And guess who got the contract for the event? When I saw his name on the vendor sheet, I laughed so hard I nearly threw out my back. That night was going to be glorious. But not loud, not messy, just clean, polite, public revenge, the best kind. The day of the IPO launch party, I woke up in a hotel room with blackout curtains, room service eggs, and a bottle of champagne I hadn't ordered. The tag said, from the Soulrise board, congratulations, boss. I didn't drink it. Not because I was being humble. I just planned on opening something better in front of a crowd that included at least 3 people who had once told me to get realistic. The event was held in a downtown gallery that used to be a warehouse. Now it was all exposed brick, matte black fixtures, and lighting that made everyone look like they had their life together. I wore a tailored suit, not flashy, just clean, the kind of thing that says, I have money but also remember living off microwave oatmeal. Jeremy showed up 10 minutes late in a slightly wrinkled tux jacket and Vans. Rachel from reception met us at the entrance with a clipboard and a look of restrained panic. Media's here early. So are 3 angel investors. Also, the caterers are setting up and, one of them might be your ex-fiancé's boyfriend. I raised an eyebrow. Carter. She nodded. He said his name was Carter and asked if we could keep him in the back during the toast. I laughed, loud enough that a guest near the hors d'oeuvres table turned around. The space filled quickly. We had LED displays cycling through Solrise stats, battery efficiency gains, renewable energy output, all that sexy clean tech stuff. There was a prototype corner where we showed off the original toaster battery box, complete with scorch marks and one of Jeremy's old socks. Everyone thought it was a joke. It wasn't. Then I saw her. Sophie. She walked in like a woman who wanted to look like she wasn't making an entrance. Subtle heels. Designer dress that said, "I'm effortlessly expensive." She was still beautiful, and still had that slight frown she used to get whenever the air conditioning was set too low. She wasn't with Carter. He was in the back, wearing a catering apron, setting down tiny charcuterie cones with all the grace of a man praying no one recognized him. He avoided eye contact. Smart. Sophie, on the other hand, made sure to be seen. She floated from group to group, offering compliments and that practiced laugh of hers. I watched her work the room like she still thought she belonged in the center of it. And for a while, maybe she did. But not tonight. Tonight was mine. Rachel handed me a mic around 9 p.m. The crowd quieted. Jeremy gave me a thumbs up, half sarcastic. Denise mouthed, "Don't you dare go off script," which only encouraged me. I stepped onto the small stage. Nothing dramatic, just a raised platform with the company logo glowing behind me. I tapped the mic. "Hey, everyone," I said. "Thanks for coming out to celebrate 5 years of unpaid sleep deprivation, fire hazards, and battery acid burns." Scattered laughter. Good start. We launched Solrise because we were broke, freezing, and too stubborn to accept that the solution to the world's energy problem didn't include 2 idiots with no money and a soldering gun. More laughter. A couple of polite nods from the press people in the front. But somehow here we are. We started in a garage next to a moldy treadmill. Now we power homes in 4 countries, employ 45 people, and just went public on the NASDAQ. Applause. I waited, smiled, then continued. And I just want to take a moment to thank the people who helped me get here. Some of them believed in me. Some of them didn't. One of them told me I had no financial future and suggested I look into sales certifications. I didn't look at Sophie. Didn't need to. Others called our idea cute and asked us what our exit strategy was. So here's the exit strategy. We didn't exit. Louder applause. A few whistles. I kept going. We stayed. We worked. We failed. A lot. But we didn't quit. And that's the thing about clean energy and startups. And apparently, heartbreak. You don't need everyone to believe in you. Just one. Sometimes, just yourself. Now I looked directly at Sophie. She was smiling, tightly. The kind of smile that's all teeth and no joy. And tonight's launch isn't just about money or tech. It's about proving you can go from nothing to something without selling your soul. Or your company name to a guy who wanted to call it Sun Daddy. Jeremy hooped from the back. I finished the speech, raised my glass, and toasted. To anyone who's ever been told they weren't enough, may your exes show up at your party and realize they fucked up. The room exploded. Not in a roaring, frat party way, but in the classy, satisfied laughter of a crowd that knew exactly what I'd just done. Sophie didn't leave immediately. She stayed, pretended to mingle, took a selfie with someone from the media, and made sure to tag Solrise official in it. I didn't approach her. Didn't need to. Carter, on the other hand, was busy refilling empty wine glasses and refusing to make eye contact with anyone taller than 5 feet. When I passed him near the back doors, he muttered, "Congrats, man," without looking up. I said, "Thanks. Can you not burn the mini quiches this time?" He didn't reply, just nodded and walked away. It was perfect, clean, sharp, and completely devoid of shouting or chaos. Exactly how I wanted it. I was halfway through a conversation with an investor about European expansion when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned. Of course it was her. Sophie stood there, smiling like this was a casual run-in at a grocery store, and not the culmination of 5 years of silence, heartbreak, and petty vengeance dressed in cocktail attire. "Liam," she said, too bright. "This is incredible." I gave her the kind of smile you reserve for exes and customer service reps who just denied your refund. "Hey, Sophie. Glad you could make it." She looked around, trying to seem impressed without admitting she was impressed. "You've really built something. I mean, I always knew you were smart, but..." I cut her off, not unkindly. "Let me guess. You didn't know I could actually finish something." Her smile twitched. "No, I've been meaning to reach out." I saw the articles, and I'm sorry for how things ended. Right. The sudden wedding cancellation, social media wipe, and zero contact approach. That how things ended. She kept going. My dad, he was wrong. I let him get in my head. And Carter, well, that's obviously over. I didn't flinch. I'd expected this moment, but I didn't think it would feel this hollow. No adrenaline. No fury. Just the dull realization that I'd outgrown the entire mess. I glanced over her shoulder. Have you met Isabel? Sophie blinked. Who? I gestured to the woman walking over. Tailored jumpsuit, short hair, and a grin that said she could eat PR crises for breakfast. Isabel's an investor. She also writes for TechCrunch. And she's my date tonight. Isabel smiled, stuck out her hand, and said hi, in a tone that was equal parts polite and I know exactly who you are. Sophie shook her hand, then dropped her gaze. I should let you get back to it, she mumbled. Good seeing you, I said, already turning back to Isabel. Sophie left without another word. I didn't watch her walk out. Didn't need to. Funny how 5 years ago I was the guy crying in his sister's guest bathroom, holding a napkin with half a business plan and no clue how to start. Now I'm drinking champagne with the people who bet on me when I had nothing, not even self-respect. Sophie walked out thinking she was upgrading. Joke's on her. I didn't just upgrade. I rebuilt the whole damn operating system.